Hello, everyone, and welcome to Budgeting for Audio Drama, a presentation in which I am going to tell you how to budget for audio drama. This presentation is going to have a lot less numbers than you expect. I'm not going to be giving you example budgets or here's how much money you should spend on your audio drama, because the answer is there is no correct amount of money to spend on your audio drama. This is going to be more philosophy-based budgeting for audio drama. But first, who the heck is talking? Hi, I'm Tal. I use they, them pronouns. I've made a lot of audio dramas, such as Side Questing, What Will Be Here, Someone Dies in This Elevator, Regarding Dracula, and more. I'm not going to sit here and read them out. They're all on the screen. These shows have all had drastically different budgets. Some of them were volunteer projects, like Of the Sword. Some of them were micro budgets, like Side Questing. And some of them had multiple thousands of dollars, like Read Dracula. If you want to know more about any of these shows, they're all on my website. It's talminear.com. So the very first thing you should do before budgeting your audio drama is having a season outline for your audio drama. You should have an idea of how many episodes you want to make, how long these episodes are going to be, how many characters are you dealing with, how complicated is the sound design going to be? Are you making giant robots fighting kaijus or a racing show? Or are you doing something more low key, like two people sitting in a therapist's office talking? Shout out Bright Sessions. And finally, before you even start thinking about your budget, you should have an idea for what your goals are with your show. Do you just want to have fun making a season? Do you want to hit a certain number of downloads? Do you just want to make something you're proud of? Do you just have this story you're trying to get out of your head and onto not the page, but I guess the ear? Or maybe you're trying to get into web festivals. Maybe you want to get adapted into a TV show. All you need to do is sit down and think about your goals, because that will affect the amount of money you want to put towards your audio drama. I think that you need to determine your budget before you start writing, so you don't start writing something that you can't actually do. So start with an outline, and we're going to use this outline to determine the budget for the audio drama. In addition to making a season outline, you should also have an idea of what you can do yourself, because the more that you do, the less it costs. For example, in side questing, I don't pay myself for voice acting. The show's functionally a passion project. I make it because I love it. I'm not interested in paying myself for my time because it's a fun thing I do. I also do sound design for side questing, which means I don't need to pay a sound designer. Um, Voicing one of the characters means I don't need to pay for one of the characters. Uh, it's in this vein where if you're not writing, you're going to need someone to write. You probably need to pay them. If you have other voice actors that aren't you're probably going to have to bring on more people. You're probably going to have to pay them. And it goes for everything else listed in this bullet point. I've included transcripts because I think it's really important to have transcripts for your show. If you're writing it, you have scripts, and it's really easy to modify a script into, hey, this is what you hear in the show. Cover art is really important. If you're going to put money towards any single one visual part of your podcast, it should be cover art, because that can be the thing that gets people to click and listen. And the final thing that I think is really important is a website. Your podcast should have a website. It's going to help people find it, share it. It's going to help people that review podcasts get the information that they need. It's going to help voice actors link the show on their own websites, and it will help you just in search engine results. So people sometimes kind of forget about the importance of these last three items, so I have included it here on my list. Know what you can do yourself. Once you know what you can do yourself, you then sort of know immediately what you're not doing. And the next step is decide the rates for everything else. And I think a lot of people listening to this presentation are going to look at this slide and be like, well, I'm here to figure out what the rates are for everything else. Why aren't you telling me anything? And the answer is it changes both just time-wise. I could give you a number right now and someone could listen to this a year later and be like, wow, that's totally ridiculous. But also the rates vary per project. For side questing, I pay voice actors $1 a line. For Re Dracula, I pay voice actors, um, I forget the exact amount, but at least 30 pounds per hour. It varies. Um, and part of that is what the rate that you pay is going to be based on is the budget, is the money that you have. Side questing, as I said earlier, is a smaller budget, so the rates for side questing are less. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have different rates for different projects, pay people less for one thing. It's how it goes. But know that the more you pay, the more people will be willing to work for you. More voice actors will be interested in doing work on regarding Dracula because it pays more. Some like professional voice actors might look at my rate for side questing and say, "Oh, that's too low for me. I'm not going to audition." And they're well in their right to do that, and I'm well in my right to set the rate that I can do. What's really important when it comes to setting rates is fairness. If you are paying your sound designer $20 an episode and paying your voice actors $20 an episode, that's inherently unfair because the sound designer is going to be spending hours and hours and hours on that one episode, whereas the voice actors might have a 2-hour recording session max. It means you're paying your sound designer less for their work. So it's important to think about when it comes to per episode stipends, how much work goes into that role. Um, there is one simple cheat sheet for voice acting. Voice Acting Club does have an indie rate guide at voiceactingclub.com/rates. They have rates set up for different project types, both how it is recorded and what your budget is. There's not really any sort of rate guide for any of these others. Audio drama, because it's so high variance in the budgets, it's also really high variance in rates. And there's no easy, yes, pay your director $50 for this episode and you're for sure good. That's just not how it works. And you can do a volunteer show. Your budget can be zero. The rates you pay people can be zero. But less people will be interested in participating. What's your passion project might not be someone else's passion project. That might be work for them, and they might say, I only want to do this for money. It's valid of them to not want to participate. It's valid for you to do a passion project. It's really, really important to respect your collaborators' time. This kind of goes back to it's not everyone's passion project. If someone can't meet a deadline or needs more time for something or just, can't reply to your message immediately, respect that. Give them their space because you're not paying them. They don't owe you their time. You should keep demands reasonable. If you're doing a volunteer show, you shouldn't have 24-hour turnaround for voice actors. You shouldn't have really tight deadlines for your writers or sound designers. You're not paying them. This just goes back to respecting people's time. If you're not paying people, you really, 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 really need to credit them prominently. Put them on your website. Put them in the episode show notes. Say their names at the end of the episode. People are basically working for credit. So you should make sure it's easy for them to point at this project and be like, look at this cool thing I made. I did this part of it. And lastly, second to lastly, you should either pay everyone or no one. I've seen shows where some roles for voice actors are paid and some are unpaid. I personally think that's really unfair. Even if those unpaid roles are really small, you should still send the people doing it a couple bucks because you're paying all the other people involved. Um, if you're making money from your show, that should be going primarily to the people working on your show. It's a little weird to have people work for you for free and make money from that and not pass that money back on to the people working. Obviously, there are exceptions to every rule. Maybe you're a group of friends making a project together and you put some ads on it and you use the money to like commission cool cover art. As long as everyone's on board, that's fine. But if everyone's not on board, that money that you make from people's work should be going to the people doing the work. And lastly, look, I'm biased. I'm a sound designer. I'm an audio editor. But I really, really recommend learning audio editing yourself if you're not willing to pay for it. Obviously, this isn't the case for everyone. People have disabilities, people have things they can't do. But if you can learn audio editing and you want to do a volunteer show, I really think you should. For one, it's a lot of fun, but also of all the variety of roles within audio fiction, it is the hardest to find dialogue editors and sound designers to work for you for free. You will have a hard time doing that. So if you're going to do a volunteer show, do the audio editing. It'll be great. And now we're kind of flipping back a couple slides here to the outline. Because remember, we're making our outline before we make our budget, and we're making our budget before we write our show. You should know how many episodes, because the more episodes you make, the higher the cost. There's just more podcast to podcast. You don't need 30 episode seasons. If you can't afford a show that costs $10K to make, you could make half as many episodes and use half that budget and make your show for $5K. And it's similar for episode length. The longer the episode, the higher the cost because there's more podcast to podcast. You don't need to have 40-minute episodes. You could do 20-minute episodes. And again, like cutting your number of episodes in half, cutting episode length in half also cuts your budget in half. Knowing how many characters is a little bit tricky because the more characters there are, the higher the cost. And it isn't super intuitive, but the reason is every additional character you have requires additional time casting a voice actor, onboarding a voice actor, and time is money. And every character that's present in a scene at the same time complicates the dialogue edit. It makes it take longer. More time, more money. So if you can simplify the amount of characters in your outline, combine to kill your darlings, you'll have a tighter script and it will be less costly to make. And the final thing to think about in your outline is sound design. If you're new to sound design, you can make it easier for yourself in the outline stage, in the writing stage. If you know that the people you're working with aren't going to have excellent quality microphones, you can use a framing device to excuse that poor audio quality, make it part of the show. If you're not comfortable sound designing action-packed scenes of people scampering all over the place and punching each other, you can write a narrator into your story to tell people what's happening. Basically, if you do your outline, then your budget, you can go back and edit your outline to create a script that not only plays to your strengths, but plays to what you can afford. And this is an audio medium. People sometimes forget that the audio is the most important in an audio medium. You should write for audio. You should understand that the primary way people are going to consume your work is not reading your transcript. It's going to be listening to your episode. So if you put your budget in one place, that place should be audio editing. There's a lot of things you don't need to spend money on. Expensive mics. It's good to get a nice mic, a good USB, maybe a XLR. You do not need to shell out $500 for a microphone for your first audio drama. You don't need to spend money on fancy software and plugins. You can utilize Audacity. You can utilize Reaper. Reaper is not free, but they have an unlimited free trial that's really nice. You don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on plugins for reverb or audio editing. You can find cheaper ones or ones built into software. You don't need to spend money on casting sites. You don't need to go on Backstage. You can if you want to, but you can put your casting call in a Google Doc and share that Google Doc on the Voice Acting Club Discord and literally get it in front of thousands of people for no money. You don't need to spend money on steep award fees. I have been pretty openly critical of award fees, like the Webbies, the Signal Awards, the Ambies. There's another one in there somewhere where you pay sometimes $400 for one category. If you make something that you're super proud of and you think it's competitive and you want to, sure, but you can spend $400 entering 10 or more web festivals and get, in my opinion, more bang for your buck. Another thing you do not need to spend money on is social media ads. They just don't work. Just post on social media. If you really want to do ads, utilize ads within podcast apps. Advertise on Pocket Casts. You'll be advertising to people who like podcasts right where they're listening to podcasts. I don't actually know anyone personally that has spent money on gaming the charts. In theory, you can, but like, don't spend money to hit number one on Spotify or Apple. It's not gonna help. And lastly, I feel very strongly about this one. Don't spend money on anything AI, generative artificial intelligence. Frankly, I think you shouldn't use it, but this is about budgeting. Don't spend money on AI. It's not worth it. So of course, after I say what not to spend money on, the next question is, oh, well, what do I do spend money on? The first one, your team. I talked about this earlier. Give money to the people making the art. They deserve it. N external mic, very worth it, especially if you're the one doing voice acting for your podcast. This could also mean getting an external mic for whoever's doing the voice acting for your podcast. Room treatment. Room treatment is really underrated. You can make a so-so mic sound like a really expensive mic by treating the room that you record in. I record in a closet. It's great. Room treatment is genuinely worth the money that you spend on it. Spend money on your website. I talked earlier about how important a website is. You can do it for free. Card.co is a great resource to make a pretty website. But if you're going to spend money on something, a website's a good option. And lastly, cover art. Again, cover art is the book cover for your audio drama. If you're not an artist, it is worth commissioning a nice looking cover art because it will help you stand out. It will help people listen to your podcast. That's worth the money. Don't use generative AI for your cover art. It looks really bad, and I will never listen to your podcast if you do. Yay. There are a lot of free resources. You can make an audio drama for $0. I have done it. There are free versions for basically everything you need when it comes to writing, when it comes to audio editing, when it comes to finding sound effects or music or posting, when it comes to making marketing materials for your podcast. I love Canva. Canva, my beloved. I make so many graphics for social media on there. And website. Card is what I mentioned earlier. You can also make a Tumblr. You can use HTML to customize the landing page for your Tumblr and have it look really nice. I will leave this up for one more second and take a sip of water. You can screenshot this if you want. You can also drink water if you want. And so this is my wrap-up slide here. If you can do any part of audio drama production for free, your budget should go towards what you value. I value sound design. I value good cover art. I value having a website. I really value paying my team. That's why it was the first bullet point. You can, if you don't know what's important to you, which is fair and valid if you've never done production before, I recommend listening to a handful of audio dramas and think about what you like. Are you really into snappy dialogue? Are you really into beautiful music? Do you like immersive sound design? And as you produce, you will find out what parts of production you really like. For example, I find directing both fun, but also really exhausting. So for Re Dracula and Re Carmilla and Re Frankenstein, we budgeted for a director. Side questing is recorded asynchronously. There's no director, there's no live call. I give voice actors their lines and they record it, and then I record my own lines. I don't need a director for that. I don't budget for it. If something's not important to you, use a low-cost alternative. For example, I play quick and dirty with script formatting. I really don't care a lot about it looking pristine, professional. I do it in Google Docs. Hopefully, one day I will move to Ellipsis because they're a better company than Google. But someone who approaches audio drama from a film or screenwriting background might say, hey, it's really important to me to pay for Writer Duet or some other really nice scripting software. That's super valid for them because it's what's important to them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you're budgeting for audio drama, what is most important is it fair? And that's a really arbitrary thing. You really have to trust your gut with it because audio dramas have so many different budgets. Audio dramas have such a wide range of pay. You really have to look at the money coming in and the money going to the people working on it and just check your gut. Is this fair? It's okay to take some of that income and invest into things like cover art or webfest fees, etc., etc. But if you're paying your voice actors a pittance and submitting to the Webbies for 2 categories at $400 each, that's probably not fair. And if you're ever unsure, the best way to know is to ask. I'm here to tell you that it's okay to talk about money. It's okay to talk about your budget. It's okay to discuss the money that you're making from your podcast or the money that you're paying for your podcast. This is how we achieve fairness. If you're unsure about your budget and like, oh, is this really fair to the people working on it? Just share your budget with them. Be like, hey, this is the money we have. This is how I'm allocating it. Does it pass your vibe check? You just have to be prepared for the answer to be no. And not get mad at someone if they do say no. I'm really pro talking about budgets, as you can guess from me giving a presentation about audio drama budgets. It's really good to discuss your budgets with other creators. Ask other producers what rates they're paying. And just remember that it's okay for those rates to be different if the budgets are different. And lastly, I have one sort of last surprise slide that's also sort of an advertisement. Crowdfunding is inherently related to budgets because you can increase your budget via crowdfunding. And if you want to know every single thing that I know about crowdfunding, I'm doing a crowdfunding crash course, like a live 2-hour presentation and 1-hour Q&A workshop sort of thing on Saturday, February 21st. It costs money, but you can use a code for 50% off. It is on my Ko-Fi, which is ko-fi.com/Tal Minear. That is also where these presentation slides will be uploaded if you just want to reference them again. That's free. It's just on there. You can just get it. But I can talk for literally hours, 2 of them, in fact, about crowdfunding and how it works and how to get money. And if you're interested in that, that's a thing that exists. But if you're not interested, that's the end of this presentation. I am going to figure out how to refresh the Twitch so that I can see if there are questions. And we have some time for Q&A if... Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I can't see the chat. But thankfully, someone very nice on the back end of this presentation told me they can DM me if there are any questions. So we will do that, and I will give a couple of minutes for delays here. And that will be everything. Yay. Now we enter the awkward part where, because I'm the only one here, we're all just going to be quiet. Okay. Oh, we might not have any questions, but we also might have one question. Okay, the question is, what about after the audio drama gets made? That is a very good question. Once my audio drama is made, I stop spending money on it, save for submitting to web festivals. The money that I make on advertisements after the fact usually either goes into deferred payment for me specifically or payment for the next project that I'm doing. For example, Regarding Dracula is still up. People are still listening. I get some money from ads. All of the money we're getting from ads on that show right now is going directly into the budget for Regarding Frankenstein. So I think budgeting gets a lot more simpler when you're done because you just look at, okay, well, what money am I still making? For some, it's 0. And then you can think about, okay, is there anything else I want to dedicate to this project? It's not common in audio drama to pay like voice actors or writers residuals. Usually it's, I will give you X amount of money, you will give me a script, a recording file, and then we will part ways and be happy forever. You don't have to do that. You can also continue paying people. It's just not common. So I hope that answers that question. What's the best choice regarding network/collectives and hosting? Ooh, I have opinions. I'll talk about hosting first. I love Pinecast. They are my beloved hosting platform because with Pinecast, you can have multiple feeds for no extra charge. It's just based on the amount of audio you upload. So if you had like 5 podcasts releasing weekly, maybe you would have to give them more money. But if you have 5 podcasts and 4 of them are finished audio dramas and one of them is actively releasing, it will not cost you more money. Pinecast lets you upload, I want to say 10 episodes for free, and then I believe it is $10 a month, which is fair, and they're a great company. For most of my shows, I am on Megaphone, which is owned by Spotify. It's fine. Megaphone lets you utilize dynamic ads, which the networks that I'm on utilize to get money, and that is nice. I have utilized Simplecast, which also lets you have dynamic ads. Also fine. Simplecast? Yeah, and I've also utilized Acast. It was also fine. I have no preference between those three. But if you're just a guy and you don't care about dynamic ads, I love Pinecast. Network/collectives is a whole big giant can of worms. You have to be really careful with networks and collectives in regards to what you sign, what contracts are established, who owns what IPs. If you want to join something like a network or a collective and they do not have a contract for you, run away. Run away so fast. I am very wary to name specific networks because some of them love to threaten to sue people. But for example, I know one person that when they tried to leave a network, the network was like, no, actually, we own your show and you can't have the RSS feed. And they had to upload a completely new RSS feed. I have friends who tried to leave a network and the network threatened to sue them. They're just look at the contracts, look at how much money they're taking from you when it comes to an ad split. Uh, Sometimes it's 70/30, meaning that you get 70% from dynamic ads and the network gets 30. Some of them are less generous. Anything below 50/50 is incredibly unfair. And this just goes back to looking at contracts. We sort of moved away from budgets, but read the contracts, read what they ask, read their NDA clauses. Are you allowed to discuss it if the network or collective is screwing you over? Networks and collectives can take advantage of you and they can utilize your show to make money and just absolutely stiff you on what you deserve. So just be careful. Ask around. There are whisper networks. Yeah, okay, that's my answer for that. That was such a long answer. Um, and then I see, can you be more specific? How do you keep the audio drama in people's attention? I don't actually know what can you be more specific is in reference to because I did not see the time that this was posted, which is not your fault. Um, how do you keep? Okay, yeah, we're gonna guess it's about ads. So if it's not about ads, you should say so in the chat. But how do you keep an audio drama in people's attention? Marketing. Marketing is the answer. I have shows that are completed that are not actively releasing, but audio drama is evergreen. Even though my show What Will Be Here came out in 2021, people are still finding it in 2026 and enjoying it. You can post about it on social media. I reach out to podcast newsletters sometimes. Earbuds Collective is launching a fiction specific list where you can curate 5 fiction podcasts and include one of your own, and it goes out to all the subscribers. So sometimes I do that and throw my shows in. I submit to WebFest. I submitted What Will Be Here to New Jersey WebFest last year, and it won Best Premise. It didn't matter that the show was 5 years old. That was fun. So After your audio drama gets made, probably where that budget is going, if you still have a budget, is marketing. Um, for shows like regarding Dracula, I do some of what I said earlier, post on social media, submit to newsletters. Pocket Casts sometimes also does curated lists that you can submit. But the fandom also just spreads the word. Dracula is always evergreen. I'm always talking to people about vampires, and literally this week I met someone new and we're talking about Dracula as you are, and I was like, "Oh, I made this podcast. It's free if you want to listen." Word of mouth is probably the best way to um, keep the audio drama circulating. Um, yeah, I hope that was what you wanted me to be more specific about, but uh, if not, oh well, I guess. Okay, and then I'm currently caught up in questions as far as I know. Uh, we can do like one more minute in case anyone has a last minute thing. And then this has been budgeting for audio drama. Okay. I'm going to assume there's no more questions. Great. Well, thank you all for coming here and letting me yap about audio drama budgets and what I think is important. And ultimately, if there's something that you think is important that I don't, or that I think is important that you don't, that is fine and wonderful. It just means I will put my budget to different things than yours, and that is okay. All right. That's everything. Yay!